Hello and welcome to the Madison Podcast. My name is Ben Lavender, also known as New York's favorite British mortgage broker. Today I have a very special guest, a gentleman who I've been meaning to get on here for a while, and we've been spending a lot of time together recently. It's, I can't say it's the best time of my life, given that I'm, as you know, recently engaged. And we don't want to start competition with you and Miriam. However, let us please welcome Mr. Joe Sinnona. Joe, you have many titles, so please tell everyone who doesn't know you, assume just no one knows you, what do you do and why are you the best at it? Well, that you don't have to answer, actually, if you want to stay humble, because you're a humble guy.
Well, the first title, if you will, is that I am a real estate agent. Always an agent. I never say I'm a real estate associate broker, even though I hold those titles as well. So
why is that? Why just keep it to that name?
Because I think you have to be humble in this business, and you have to always remember where you come from. And I came from very humble beginnings, and by accident became a real estate agent.
I do want to get into that story because I missed it before I came in and you were telling Anthony. But let's talk about your other titles, because you run a team, you do some public speaking. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Sure. I'm a team leader for EXP Realty, and I have the Northstar team at EXP Realty.
It's a great name.
I have a short little team because I believe that
they didn't get enough nutrition.
Definitely size matters. I think that the quality that you have, the more experienced team agents that you have makes for a good winning team, and it's a little less to manage, which is awesome for me because I have too much to manage as it is. And remember, I'm also a working agent in the field, so going out and just being an agent is a lot of work for myself. So I have this team that I don't have to really oversee too much. We just motivate one another, and we have our weekly meetings, and that's awesome. And then I'm a real estate instructor as well.
Yes.
And I teach, as you know, and we have the designations that we teach for NAR, National Association of Realtors, and then we also have some more projects coming up in the new year, which I'm hopeful to discuss as well.
Yes.
And I'm also a speaker. I've been a speaker since 2009. I launched Sinnona Speak Seminars, which has really given me a lot of popularity amongst agents, not just here in New York, but across the country.
I'm not surprised by that whatsoever.
And this year I became an international speaker in Mexico.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know that.
Of all places.
Yeah, very cool. Are you speaking in English or?
Oh, yeah.
Do you speak any other languages? I'm not.
I do speak. I speak a little Spanish, and quite a little bit more Spanish this year than I have in my personal side. And I do speak fluently Italian.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I read and write as well.
That's crazy. I'm very intimidated right now. It's very cool. It's one of my
Why
dreams.
is that?
Because I think it's cool. It's also something that I'm positively envious of. I always wish I spoke another language. I tried my whole life. It just wasn't for me. French, Hebrew,
I started
Spanish.
at 6 picking up the Italian newspaper. My father would say, read it to me, and I would ask, what is this word? What is this word? That's how I learned.
That's a very efficient way to learn.
Exactly.
And you spent a lot of time in Italy.
That's true.
Right, that helps.
If I wasn't summering in Long Beach, New York, I would spend an entire summer in Sicily.
Yeah,
which was hot.
Which we both went to. Well, you went to this year. I just went to Italy. But one of the questions, I'm actually glad that you kind of brought up everything that you're doing, is how do you balance it all? Do you have like a schedule, routine? Is it just it fell in? I'm genuinely actually I'm curious. Like how do you do all those things?
A good question. It's definitely a schedule. When you keep a time block on everything that you do, whether it be by phone, whether it be by laptop calendar, there is a definite schedule there that has to be disciplined. Inside of you, it becomes a part of you. And then the most, everything else is all just work. I've always worked my entire life, so I'm accustomed to a busy schedule. And if you had to see me this weekend, I was fidgety because I didn't have anything to do. I took everything off my calendar, and I was just sitting on the deck just trying to relax. And it takes me a good, I would say, 5 to 7 hours before I can just
reset,
decompress.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's a skill, honestly, to be able to detach like that. But we can't ever, like, fully detach because you never know when you get a phone call in. Like, you always have to be ready. But I think on Labor Day weekend, we're cut a little bit of slack.
True. And it's a work ethic that you grow into. I think everybody has a good work ethic, but you have to grow into it. You have to make it a part of you. I don't think that anybody can...
habitual, you could even say.
Oh, totally. And I don't think anybody can actually learn a work ethic. I don't think I can ever teach a work ethic. I think what you have to do is you have to grow into it. You have to be disciplined enough to say, you know what, I got to do this, and I have no choice but to do it.
So what do you see as the difference between, say, learning and growing into something? Like, if they can't learn, I'm trying to understand that. It's just, it has to be something that you slowly build up. You can't be taught it, is what you're saying.
No, you definitely cannot be taught a work ethic. I've tried for many years. I've been teaching for 23 years now, and I cannot, in any of my classes, teach a work ethic. I think people have to want to learn and want their success. I think that if there's a fire in you that's lit at the right time in your life, that will stay lit for the entire life. For me, I had a fire lit since I was 13. I think it went even further back. Before that, I used to sell people's junk on corners at 8 years old. I would go to their houses. I started my first official door-to-door as a salesman, and I would ask people if they wanted me to clean out their attic. And I would take all the junk out of their attic and then put it in a wagon and bring it up to the corner and sell it. That was my first sales experience.
When you were 8 years old?
8 years old, yeah.
What led you to do that at 8?
I was bored. I was bored. I watched all my my brothers and my sisters go to work, and I wanted to work. I wanted something of a little job, and I made about $30 to $40 a week. It was awesome. I think I started the first flea market on my block on the corner.
For an 8-year-old, that's a lot of money, especially like right now. That's way more. You're doing pretty nice for an 8-year-old.
It was pretty good.
What did you do with your money?
I bought all kinds of toys with it. I remember buying a Walkman. I wanted a Walkman so bad.
Who didn't want a Walkman back then?
And a lot of it was candy. A lot of it was garbage that I didn't really need. That looking back,
when an 8-year-old has all this discretionary income, what do you do?
But I did put a lot of it away. I put a lot of it in the bank. By the time I was 12 years old, I had a bank account of $8,000.
That's really good.
Yeah, because as the flea market grew, we started to ask not just for the stuff in their attic, because everybody's attic was nice and clean now, but I asked for their used clothing. And back in Brooklyn, there was a renaissance of Polish people that came to this country and immigrated, and they came to the table and they were looking for clothes. So I immediately went out and got used clothing and put it on the tables, and $1 here and $1 there, and I made money that way too.
Very nice.
Yeah, it got creative.
Are you a fan of Gary Vee by any chance? Gary Vaynerchuk?
I know of him, but I'm not a big fan.
He's all about what you did, which is like garage sailing and
See that?
stuff like that. It's like anyone can do it, and I mean,
maybe I was the first Gary Vee. Who knows?
Probably his entire business model is made after you, Joe. We could say that. I mean, I don't hear too much of Gary Vee these days, actually, but I'm sure he's doing fine. What I did want to ask you, actually, we might as well go into it now. Let's talk about the seminar. Let's talk about lead. It's lead to list.
Lead to list.
In my head, I always have to stop myself from saying listings to leads, because I think that's something else or another company. I don't know. But lead to list. Tell us about lead to list. What is it? Even though I'm part of it, but whatever. We'll get to that
So
after.
6 years ago, I came up with a course called Lead to List. And it was an all-day course that took you from the time you got a listings lead to the time you listed the house and the strategies and the methodologies behind all of that. And it was a 7.5-hour CE class that another school approved for me, and I taught it. And then after a while, I stopped teaching it, and it was no particular reason. But then I went back to it and I said, maybe we can take this course and make it into a half-a-day conference, and then mix in laws of agency, the required CE class. And I said, and let's not stop there. Let's get one of the best, or some of the best, top producing listing agents, and let them reveal their secret sauce to the public, to the audience that attended the Lead to List seminars. And I started with the first one, thinking that was going to be the last one. And I said, let's see how well this goes. And it was well attended. We had about 250 people in the audience. That's Everybody loved it. It was something different. And not only that, but it kicked off the new year. So it kicked off the new year with motivation, with some skill, because law of agency is the foundation principle of our business. If we don't walk around with law of agency in our head as a method to sell or to list people's properties, we really have forgotten the basic root of our business.
Can you elaborate on that? Why is that?
Yeah, there's no secret oath to real estate. When you become a real estate agent, you take like a secret oath to the public. You say, that you will perform certain duties of trust that build the trust between you and your consumer. So, do
you think most people do that?
I don't think so. Yeah. No, I don't think so, because I think that when that part of the course is taught in Real Estate 101, it's forgotten. Right. So I said, I have to remind agents where they come from, that part of their history is so important to their work, even now in the present and for the future, especially with what's going on right now with the NAR lawsuits. And we have to be reminded to be professional, or do we have to be reminded of our fiduciary duties to the public? And that's a question that I will leave there for every agent to answer, because I think if every agent answers that question, we'll have much less lawsuits in the future.
Speaking of the NAR lawsuit / settlement, I know you'll be fine, you know what you're doing, but word on the street, what is the feeling, the vibe you're getting from most people? Because a lot of people in the business, Joe. I would argue you come across a lot, way more than many. So what's that been like?
Change is not easy for a lot of agents, and change hasn't been easy for them. And I think it's one word I could sum up is adaptation. If they can adapt to the changes, but keeping those laws of agency in their head is something that I think will help them smooth out the edges, especially for their brokers, managers that teach them that. And I think it's very important that every broker and manager adapt to that.
Joe, some realtors in like the CEs that we teach have come up to me and been like, I don't know anything about it. What do I have to do? My broker is on vacation. Literally, like I'm not exaggerating. That's the exact sentence that was uttered to me by a couple agents literally 3 weeks ago in a CE. So for agents like that, what do you recommend they do where they don't have someone?
Well, do what I do. Essentially, is you find help. You seek out a coach. You talk to people. You get into classrooms. It's all about the education. Education comes first, no matter what. Education has always been at the center of my business, as at the center of my life. If I didn't know anything that I needed to know while my broker was either on vacation or just simply wasn't around. And I had some really good mentorship from them growing up in the business. But today's broker likes to quote unquote scale. And that to me is cheating. That to me is, running away from your responsibility as a broker. If you're a hands-on broker, you're not a control freak, you're not micromanaging. You're just trying to avoid any sort of liability for the future. And sending out an agent who isn't educated is a walking liability for every brokerage out there. And that's something that I'm trying to avoid, because the failure rate in real estate is 90% now.
That's insane.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
90% failure rate. Is that within like a certain amount of time, or just
in your first year of real estate? 90%. And what we do is we keep breathing a certain agent that comes out of the classroom, out of, coming into our business. And all we do is we don't teach them the basic principles of vision boarding, goal setting, setting a time block on their business so that they can produce that work ethic, going back to that. And therefore, we have these conferences like Lead to List, which we're now going into our 6th year, which I never thought was possible.
It's amazing.
But there are so many talented real estate agents out there, including myself, if I may say. And it's something that you want to keep lighting other candles out there. You want to be the source of the resource, and you want to make sure that these agents that are out there are following a path to success, but they're actually looking at their success and saying, you know what, I'm actually learning the good habits, which is my mantra in Sinnona Speaks.
So let's dive deeper into that. I do want to come back to the seminar, but we were just talking about like agents adapting, failure rates. I mean, if you hear about this in any other industry, you'd probably be shocked. I mean, I feel that getting people into the business is probably a business in itself, right? In order to take the class, there are courses sold, stuff like that, and the business is kind of advertised as an easy business where you can make a lot of money, right? Not obviously by us, but it's kind of what people think. They get in, it's super easy. That's a whole other thing which I don't even know how to stop or where it comes from. But what I was wondering, Joe, is what do you think the difference is between someone that drops out after a year, 2 years, and someone that makes it where they're not, you don't have to say that they're amazingly successful, that they're crushing it, top 0.0% in the business, but someone that can make a good living, right? What's the difference between someone that, can basically make a good living in the business versus someone who ends up dropping out? Is it attitude? Is it skill? Combination of both?
I think that when the wheel starts turning on an agent that is slowly coming into their own, it's because they found their niche, they found their groove in their work ethic. And that's something that is different than somebody who just drops out completely. The person that drops out completely is the person who chased the money.
Right.
And didn't chase the relationship, or didn't, decided that, professional development was all about the CE credit. There's a difference between that agent and the agent that goes to a classroom and says, I want to learn, and as a result of this learning, I'm getting my CE credit.
Yeah. I've even seen a pattern as well, right? Because we have a lot of attendees. I think between us, we've got like 4 different CE type of courses a month, right? So I've got agents that are brand new. I've got agents that have been doing it for 20 years. And what I've noticed, because now I've been teaching CE for over 2 years, and in the beginning it was fun, but now it's even funner. I've noticed that, for instance, an agent that has been doing this for 20 years and has been absolutely crushing it, or again just making a decent living, that they're involved in the CE. They don't just sit down there and wait for time to buy so they can to pass by so they can get their credit. They're involved. They're asking questions. They're trying to make something out of that 1-2 hour period. And the same thing goes with the agents that I saw 2 years ago attend the CE, and the ones that stayed with it, the ones who didn't answer or ask questions, who weren't really interested or involved, I don't really see them as much anymore. The ones that are always like trying to dig for new nuggets are the ones that have been like, oh yeah, but it's a year later. Yeah, I've done X amount of deals now. It's going really well. It's hard. Like, they're not saying that the business is easy. It's definitely not easy. They're
right.
It's tough, but they're inquisitive, I think is the word.
Yeah, and those are the ones that I believe are going to succeed because they're the ones that keep coming back, as I say, for 2 more scoops of raisins. In education, they're the ones that love the instructor's inspiration or the speaker's inspiration. They need that inspiration in order to keep going because obviously they're not getting it, from any broker, manager, mentor. They're looking for love in all the right places when they do that. And they're bettering their career, and that should never be a threat to their broker or their manager, because their broker and manager should be praising the fact that they're going outside of the office to learn a little bit more, because maybe the broker did not learn from the proper channels, and maybe the brokers and the managers do need to come into these types of classes so that they could see that their agents are getting the education that they deserve. And it's not like a bird that flies away and then comes back to the nest and drops the nuggets back into the nest.
Yeah.
Because that's what we used to do when I was an agent. I used to bring home all the fair housing information, all the rules, and my brokers would be like, wow, they changed everything. Today's broker has to go back to school, has to go back into the classroom, has to, even the managers, they have to go back and relearn things and relearn new things.
Right.
Oh yeah, and they have to incentivize the agents. And I'm not talking about with commission splits. I'm talking about, hey, we're building a culture here. We're building a culture in our brokerage that is far better than anything we've ever built. And we're also incentivizing you, all of you agents here, to not just make money for the company, but to grow, to be better agents. And I think that's the mission, if you will, that every broker, every manager, every mentor has to have, so that it reduces the failure rate.
Which is hard when their priority is scaling.
Their priority is scaling, and that's what's hurting the industry right now.
You can't scale without a good base.
True. And scaling goes from, it includes getting rid of your admin, right? Not having a proper admin, not having a proper transaction coordinator, not having a proper mentor in the office, not having a proper coach. All of this stuff is scaled to give the broker more money in their pocket so they can enjoy that vacation, if you will. Yeah. And that's hurting your business. That's hurting your business model. Now, I'm not an expert. I had my own office for 10 years, but I know that in that 10-year period, I found that the secret to management is not necessarily, staying on top of your agent, but allowing them to do the things that, take risks with their business and open up new avenues for business. Bring me back a new idea, bring me back a fresh idea. Let's talk about it at our team meeting. Instead of the broker talking at every team meeting, now you have the agents speaking, and the agents can actually teach the brokers a thing or two about real estate.
Yeah, so not have it be one-way communication.
Sure.
Especially because I've seen it, Joe, where you have like the broker who is unlike you, that isn't really in the weeds and still actually doing sales, and they're just kind of phasing out, and they're repeating the same thing for 10, 20 years because they got nothing fresh because they're not in the game anymore.
Right.
You have to still keep a foot in, otherwise how do you identify relevancy or issues that come up? It's not possible.
Like right now, today's technology, all the AI approach to our business, is every broker taking an approach, let me look at AI, let me not fear it so much, let me take this to another, level with my agents. Let me take, this technology that I have in front of me and do something with it before I go on to the next shiny object.
So I think AI is cool. The problem is when everyone uses it the same way, right? Like when people use it to describe, hey, come up with a fun description for my listing, and then like we can all tell.
Yeah, and you got
it's
3
done
pages
by
long on the
ChatGPT,
listing, and you're sitting there like,
and we're also
what are you
like,
doing?
We know you don't talk like this. We know you don't sound like this. It doesn't make any sense. But also, just in terms of business planning, right? Like it can spit out. There's only one reason I'm actually okay with this. It's because let's say that 99% of the realtors, or say for my side, 99% of the loan officers ask ChatGPT, give me a business plan. And it's all the same because you're all doing the same thing, putting in the same words. You're all going to end up doing the same thing. However, of the 99% that put it in, only 1% really execute anyway. So it actually doesn't matter. I mean, Joe, I've told people my entire business plan, front to back, and they have not copied it because there's a huge difference between seeing it and having, as you like to say, one of Joe's favorite saying, the cojones to execute on it. It's a huge difference between there and putting it down. I mean, you have to, and this brings me on to another topic or pattern that I see with not just people in the business, but people just in their daily lives. I mean, I see this with people in the that I've met at the gym and trying to better themselves is kind of the word is actually, I mean, we run this podcast, so I can say this, but the word is mental masturbation, where you're essentially just going through educational materials over and over again. I'm not talking about CE. I'm talking about like watching podcasts on real estate and, which is great because I want people to watch this. But at the end of the day, what's going to help you more? Reading, Gary Keller's book, watching a podcast, or actually like going out there and executing? And my opinion, I don't know about you, Joe, I'd love to hear how you do it, but I go through stages in the business where I'm very heavy in education and learning courses and coaching and all this stuff and filling myself with new info, and then I'll take a break from it and then I'll execute it for anywhere from 3 months to a year, 2 years, and then I go back to the drawing board. Or do you like do it both at the same time? I can't do it at the same time. I've tried.
No, I don't. I actually don't do any of that because ever since I was probably, younger in that business of going to the corner and putting people's junk on the corner, it's always been serving me as my way of doing things. I've never actually gone and listened to somebody else's advice and never heard somebody else's podcast and say, oh, let me implement that into my business. In fact, the stuff that I'm hearing is the stuff that I've done. And I didn't even write the book, and I didn't even execute the conference. I didn't do any of that.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should, But it's funny how I have Lead to List, right? And my business partner wrote a book called List to Last. So obviously the wavelength of successful people is there because, the success that we've had in implementing the things that we're doing in the business has come from within, or from watching other people do it the wrong way. So we wanted to do it our way in order to succeed. Right. You know what I'm saying? So when I would watch, when all the other kids went and got their wagons and started cleaning out their attics, people, I went the other way. And I said, let me get the clothes now. And let me get the clothes and mix them in with the stuff, the junk, so to speak. And I made more money other than, with the other kids, I made the most money every week because I was innovative.
Right. At a young age, you basically, I went through this with my mortgage coach a few months ago, one of my mortgage coaches, that the people that have the most success when it comes to a new skill, whatever it may be, are what are called early adapters and innovators. Okay, so for instance, you saw that everyone was copying your style, so to speak, your business style, and then you went into a new direction. It's the same thing for like video marketing. And to humble brag a little bit, I did this myself without even realizing, because I started doing video content in 2018, where I had absolutely zero competition, and my volume literally quadrupled in a year. Given a little bit of that as the market upticked, but that probably only accounted for 20% of it. So a lot of it, and I think that's a super valuable lesson, that it's not enough to just do it. You have to do it early. And the problem with doing it early is taking the risk. And I would argue, Joe, that in your head, you knew it instinctively because you were a kid, right? But you had the assurance to know that what you were doing was the right move. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you were just so ingrained into it, you're probably living and breathing it, that instinctually you knew that you had to do something different. Even though it was simple, but the same lesson can be applied to and should be applied to our business, that you have to do it early. You cannot do what everyone else does.
Well, as I got older and I got into this business, and purely by mistake, it was something that I knew that either I became the leader or I was the follower, and most people are followers.
Right.
You know, I learned from a gentleman by the name of Tom Hopkins early on in the real estate business, and he was actually my first mentor. And he actually taught me to be the leader, to be the forefront of the business, to get, put more innovation into my work. Because he used to say, if everybody's jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge, you don't want to jump off with them. So I use that quote in all my teachings. You see, I think when you stand out as someone who does something different, you are leading. And when you're copying the same pattern, the same things, like I have a talk show every Wednesday night called Sinnona Speaks.
I will be on tomorrow,
and you'll be on tomorrow. and then I say to myself, that came about because I listened to Brian Buffini, and Brian Buffini had his talk show where he talked about methodologies in real estate, and I said, wow, what a great idea. I'm going to do it on a local level. And soon it became more of a, let's talk one-on-one with the agents. Let's put a casual space. Let's create an atmosphere where agents can vent and not be judged. So I have agents that come on there, people like yourself who sponsor events, mortgage lenders like yourself who talk about the rates, talk about the strategies to help people. So I said, you know what, that's it. Sinnona Speaks and helps people get what they want to achieve through that inspirational hour. There is a lot of foundation work from the time that 8-year-old pulled his first wagon to where he is now. And I think that is consistency. You have to do something consistent in order to be successful.
There's an old saying I heard from another mortgage friend of mine, is that consistency compounds, right? Even if the work that you're not doing is even that special, honestly, because most people, 90% of people, are out anyway. So therefore, you're ahead of everyone else. But back to the seminar, I had a question for you. For those who are thinking of coming, what would you say are the three, it could be one or two even, Joe, but let's say the three top things that someone attending is going to get out of the event?
Well, first of all, the sixth one, which is titled Lead to List 6, the Luxury Edition.
Got it.
It's a timely subject. I think everybody wants to learn a little bit more about luxury. What better?
Is this the first luxury one?
This is the first and only one.
Okay.
So I think this one is very timely. This one will begin 2025 on a very high note for a lot of people who are thinking about getting into luxury. So they will learn from the top pros in luxury. I've assembled a very, very nice cast of agents who have found their niche in the luxury division. They all have a different talent in themselves that they will be giving and inspiring the audience with. And lastly, I think it will be about starting off your year on a high note, because the law of agency, which is the CE portion, the credit, will be given to anybody who needs the CE credit, but also learn and relearn their foundation principles of this business along with the luxury. It's a winning combination, and we have some really good sponsors in yourself and a title company and an attorney and inspection, and it's one of each. And we're still looking for some other little sponsors that will come and really fit or fill in the gap that we're looking for always. We're always looking for somebody to underwrite the event as well. You're the big underwriter along with our title company. And I believe that we will have a really successful conference. I really do believe
it's only,
this is going to be
half a
great.
day too, right?
It's a half a day, January 9th. And the venue is to be announced. I'm meeting with the venue gentleman this week. We're going to be launching I believe the end of this month, we'll be launching the ticket sales on Eventbrite. If you don't make the investment to come to Lead to List, and it's not a huge investment. It's not thousands of dollars like all the other conferences. This is peanuts compared to those. If you don't make that investment, then it tells me something about where you're headed in the new year, where you want to be with your business. What?
Yeah, harsh words. I like it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're either serious or you're not.
I'm challenging every real estate agent out there to rediscover their business. And not necessarily if they're looking for luxury, but they should be coming to this seminar to find that golden nugget that comes from you, comes from the speakers at the event, the agents themselves. I think that the agents, and I'm going to keep bragging about them,
as you should.
They are awesome and in their approach to real estate, and they've made hundreds, if not thousands, and millions of dollars in real estate, and those are the agents that you say to yourself, wait a minute, wait a minute, is that the next $1 million listing person? Is that the next Netflix actor?
Could be.
And I think I have them coming to Lead to List 6. And that's something for the audience to discover. I think at the end of the seminar, I want the audience to say, wow, I can't wait till he or she gets on that show, or I knew them when.
You're the one that's making them famous. You're the one giving them exposure.
I'm the guy from...
you get a 5%, 10% royalty.
What's that guy's name that used to stand outside of Studio 54, and he used to handpick all the people that would come into the disco, into the club, and he would say, "You gotta," and he would discover some hidden talent from that. Or Johnny Carson, going back to a talk show, Johnny Carson, or Ed Sullivan, if you're that age, these were men that discovered hidden talent. And I like when I see them on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn even, and I see them doing such great things in the field, and just their approach to real estate is sexy. It's attractive. It's something that I want the entire world to discover along with me.
And they will.
And they will.
In January. I have a question, more of a personal question on the same subject. So I find, Joe, that obviously you're a talented guy, great realtor, team leader, etc. But you really light up when you're speaking, when you're doing public speaking. I love to watch you. Even if I've heard you say something a million times and I hear it for the millionth time, it still feels and gets delivered as if it's the first time I heard it. So I was wondering, do you have a favorite thing that you like to speak about, that where you feel like you light up the most, where you're really like present and in that zone?
I think I like the fact that when I speak about my family, I think that inspires me, like my wife and my kids, my girls. And I think as I'm speaking and I start to think about family, I want that student to resonate with how I live as a person with my family. And, I'll grant it, my wife and my kids, they say I don't put them first in anything. And it bothers them, and I appreciate that, and I feel for that. But I do put them first in my classroom, and I talk about that teenager that my daughter, and I'm going to get killed for saying that word, but the teenager who goes to Lululemon and buys all these handbags, and or goes to Altered States or Sephora or any of those places for her makeup and all that, or the little one that just wants to be simple and just be on her iPad and listen to her Bluey, and that's something I don't forget when I leave the house and I go out. I have a purpose. That's my why. And my wife managing the house and managing the children and supporting me in my endeavors. That's my why. And I've spoken about that numerous times this year in my classrooms, because I believe that every agent out there has to have a mindset of why they do this business. And whether it's their family, their significant other, anybody in their lives, even themselves, they have to have a why. And I love talking about that. I just love talking about mindset, because if you got a mindset, you got a career, and you don't enjoy your career the way you should be,
I agree. So you would say your total why is family. Do you have any? So I have like multiple. Well, I would say I have two.
We have subsets of our why.
Yeah, of course.
We definitely have subsets.
So we're way over time, but I'm going to keep going, Anthony, so don't switch anything on. We'll fire these questions off quickly. They aren't completely related to what we've been talking about, but I'm genuinely interested. Actually, one is on the same subject. This is just a fun one.
Okay.
Total fantasy. I mean, if you were going to have a fantasy, it would be better than what I'm about to ask you. But still, your fantasy seminar, right? If you were to throw one where there's no budget, no limited time or anything, what would it be about? And more importantly, are there any particular speakers that you would want there?
Oh, my goodness.
Dead or alive, by the way.
Oh, my goodness. I would want every speaker that inspired me to be where I am today. And I would take some new ones on, and I would make them, talk about the fact that we were all assembled together,
like the Avengers,
like something like a host of superheroes on stage,
Right.
And I think that my ideal audience would be in the thousands rather than in the hundreds column. I think I would want thousands. Les Brown, my favorite mentor, my inspiration, and my friend, he had a stadium. Now, I'm not maybe that big, but I would want to have that kind of that kind of a setting.
You could pull that off.
Could I?
Yeah.
Citi Field, here I come.
We'll see if he does. Yeah, why not? We can try it. Okay, that's a fun one. Okay, next one. What is... I don't know how honest you want to be here, but what is the craziest thing that has happened to you in the business? And I know you've got a lot of stories. I've had some great ones.
Goodness. Craziest thing. Probably dating back to when I was new. And I misjudged a young lady who came with her partner to an open house. And I felt so bad because I was so naive in the business that I would never make this mistake ever again. And to this day, I just kick myself in the ass a lot, just thinking about it. That's one of the biggest mistakes I made, was judging them and thinking that they were a mother and a daughter. And I said, if you want to come back with your daughter to see the house, and the lady goes, what daughter? And I went, oh, you're not mother and daughter? I said, oh, your sister. She goes, no. And I kept going down the list like an idiot. This
was when, 20 years ago?
No, this was 36 years ago,
okay,
to be honest with you, at an open house.
Given the times, I think that's perfectly understandable.
Oh, and it was not PC, and to this day, I would never do something like that today.
Of course.
But I kept going down the list, and until she actually corrected me and said, how about partner? And I went, oh, I didn't think of that one, because
she was nice about it.
She was nice. And then it was 6 months later, she came back to see the house. The house was still for sale, believe it or not. And this time she came back with somebody else who was her new partner, and I didn't know it was her new partner. And I said, what happened to so-and-so? And then that person got into a fight with her.
Oh.
And again, I was like, take my shoe and put it in my mouth, because I've learned those are costly mistakes in real estate that you don't make. You don't make those mistakes. You don't say those things. And so that's one of the things I regret.
6 years ago. Very
I was still wet behind the ears.
Okay. Another one we'll fire off at you. If you were not in real estate, and I'm going to add, you cannot include public speaking or real estate coaching in this, what would you be doing?
Wow. I don't know.
Full disclosure, I'm not trying to make you face an existential crisis.
Like, let me see. I'd probably have gone back to my road. Robert Frost Road, the two roads that diverged in a wood. So I went to the right with my career. I was a teacher at first, until the day I wanted silence in the classroom, and I threw a chair from the right side of the room to the left side of the room, out of the kids' way, and the door was open, and the head of the Board of Ed came in and wrote me up, and that was the end of my teaching career. So I think if I wanted to go back, I would want to revisit that road that I never took, and see if that one really could have made the difference in my life, as
Makes
a
sense
principal.
You have a teaching background.
An English teacher, and then become a principal of something, of the school.
Climb the ladder.
Yeah.
But the teaching background makes a lot of sense, Joe, given what you do. I mean, it translates really, really well. It shows. And I think teaching gives you patience. Okay, that was a great answer. On to the next and final question. What do people in the business... What is the best book or sets of books that you recommend for people in the business, regardless of what stage they're in? What everyone in the real estate space should read? The
first and only book that I actually would endorse is Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. That was a book that I read early on in my career. I reference a couple of the pages today. There's still good stuff in there. There's good meat in there that helps people, have a good mindset. And because I believe that everybody has a giant within. And I think that people run away from their giants, and they keep them locked away. Some people keep them locked away all their lives, and some people, show off their giant when they're new in the career. I think that what you have to do is you have to give them little hints of who you are along the path of your success, rather than keep it all locked away, or just, put it in front of people's faces. Because who does not like someone who brags? Who does not like somebody who is a show-off? So I think you have to just give people little snippets of who you are as a giant, rather than, not read the inspiration that Tony Robbins gives in that book. And I read it when I decided, my old quote, and I still use it today in the classroom, Popeye the Sailor Man. What I can stands is when I can stands no more. Before he takes the spinach, he has that affirmation. And when he makes the affirmation, he decides to become proactive about his mission, his stance, And I think that in the Awaken the Giant Within, it says, when are you going to get off your ass and do something about the life that you choose? And I'm like, wow, that's so Popeye, And that's the reason why I like that book, because it actually drives you toward your success in a nice way.
Yeah, I need to read that book. I haven't read it.
Awaken the Giant Within. Tony Robbins. It was one of his earliest books.
I saw him speak last year at a mortgage event. It was very good.
Mm-hmm.
And our CEO is a huge fan of Tony. All right, well, Joe, we are good. That was 45, almost 50 minutes.
I knew it was going to go over.
To give you perspective, again, typically 50. Yeah, usually we cap it at like 15, 20, but I knew I had to get some juice out of you. So
I hope you got plenty.
We did. Joe, thank you very much for coming. We'll have you back, and looking forward to keep doing what we are doing together.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Take care.
Thank you.